So we'll talk a little about the research and development rules, how we account for those, and what it means to be technologically feasible for software development. So a little terminology first. Research, that refers to the planned search, investigation, goal with the goal of discovery of new knowledge, the hope such knowledge leads to new products or a process. Where the development takes on, this translate the research findings into a plan or a design for a new product or process intended for sale or use. So R&D. SFAS number 2 created guidelines for handling research and development expenses. So think about rules of conservatism and the ability to estimate future success from R&D. It's difficult to predict which individual R&D will provide future benefits. It's difficult to identify direct relationship between R&D costs and specific future revenue. Because even if R&D leads to future benefits, it's difficult to objectively determine the size of those benefits. So there could be some manipulation there too of the numbers, because it is so hard to determine. When the benefit is not estimable, it cannot be capitalized. So what do you include and exclude? First, you include the expenses incurred to create a new product. You exclude any expenses incurred after production has begun. You're going to include the use of tangible assets only used in the R&D product or project, but if it has an alternate use, you exclude it. You include R&D costs for your own benefit and purchased R&D. You will exclude R&D costs that you're incurring on behalf of others, if it's included in the cost of sales. You're going to include only product research cost. You will exclude marketing research, quality control testing, routine design changes. Now, differences GAAP versus IFRS. R&D costs must be expensed in the period incurred. You cannot capitalize them. That's why you have to distinguish what they are. Capitalization will begin when the cost incurs after R&D is complete and when the real production begins. IFRS has more lengthy rules. I'm not going to go into detail here. Research costs are expensed, but development costs are capitalized. So you have the importance of distinguishing between what is research and what is development is important. Startup costs follow the rule of conservatism. They're included in organizational costs and they're never capitalized. Their startup costs are always treated the same as R&D. They're expensed as incurred. You cannot capitalize them. So what we're looking at now are what cannot be capitalized. I have to expense them based on the R&D rule. Now there is an exception. It's software development. If it's developed to be sold, leased, licensed, or for your internal use, it doesn't matter. You have to look at the point of technological feasibility. What is it? It's the point in the middle of the R&D process where it can be determined that, okay, let's go ahead with it. This is going to work based on our R&D. But R&D is not done yet. So R&D costs are incurred before technological feasibility. That's the same standard R&D rules, expense it is incurred. But if you can say technological feasibility has been reached, then you can capitalize any future R&D cost, but not amortized until the product is released. R&D officially ends when the product is released. You begin amortizing the capitalized R&D costs at that point. So technological feasibility. R&D costs before, expense. R&D cost after, capitalized, but then don't start amortizing until the product is released. Now to amortize the calculations for this, the percentage of revenue method, you take the current year revenue divided by your total anticipated revenue and given as a percentage, then multiply that by the total capitalized cost. Straight line method is traditional straight line amortization, estimated economic life of the product sales. Always use the greater of the two methods. The higher expense is required to be used. Just a summary. It's Always expenses incurred except for those special rules for software. And that may change in the near future with the convergence project. That rule for software was developed when computer use was still in relative infancy. But as computers are much more expanded in our life, this rule may or may not go away. We have to wait and see.